It's Monday, so we're going to keep things light and talk about weed this morning. Okay, let's just get the uncomfortable stuff out of the way. Cannabis, very much a part of our world now. It's legal here in Canada, so we've got to prepare ourselves and our children for these conversations. How to be safe and respectful while having those. So let's do that now. Annie Dillabough and Amanda Touche, they're the hosts of the award-winning Hi Ladies podcast. They're here to help us navigate it all. It's nice to finally meet you in person. I know we chat on Instagram here and there. And congratulations on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It started 2 years ago, and as you say on the bio, it's a lady-led podcast talking about cannabis. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, Amanda and I really felt that we were having great conversations with ourselves and our community about cannabis, but we didn't see very much conversation out in the media from a mature female point of view. So we thought, let's start having those conversations, and maybe through conversation we can start breaking down some of the stigmas around cannabis and learn along the way.
And it is important because we saw when legalization happened, there were a lot of women at home, you know what I mean? There was that talk about, edibles and CBD oils and things like that, and people wanting to learn more, but really didn't know where to go.
That's right. So we wanted to be sort of a bridge that would allow people to access some more information and to sort of see and learn with us as we go along. So, I mean, we're very much parenting in this new world of cannabis, just like everybody else is. So we just thought we'd start putting our conversations out there for everybody else to learn with us.
And you both have 2 kids each. Let's talk about this conversation and why it's so important to kind of start chatting about it and being real with the kids about it.
Well, the fact of the matter is, it's legal. It is here, it's in our communities, there are dispensaries on our streets, so our children are going to come across it. And if we're not having the conversation with them, then
somebody is.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we do this? What are some of the tools that we're going to use to speak with our children about cannabis?
Yeah, definitely. So one big thing that we are always talking about is using age-appropriate language. So when you have a small child who maybe says, what's that funny smell? Or what's that new store that has all the windows covered up? Like, that's an easy place to start with just, oh, that's something for adults, and that's a store for adults, or that's a plant that adults use and is generally not safe for children.
And so these are younger children that, they're still kind of like, it's very innocent at that point. You got teenagers who are curious now and want to know more about what's going on. How do you speak to them about it?
I think using proper language, calling the plant cannabis, is important. Stressing the importance of safety, that this is something that adults use. It's generally not okay for children to use.
Their brains are still squishy, right? And squishy brains, not generally good for cannabis. Old brains, fabulous.
That makes sense. And now we get, so you're telling the teenagers about that. Now we get to your grown-up kids, and they have to make decisions. And again, these are decisions that adults will make for themselves. How do you speak to your grown-up kids about it?
So a lot about safety.
Always
right?
about safety.
Right, keeping things locked up, accessing a safe supply and knowing where your things are coming from, and even as far as like when you buy regulated cannabis, then it goes back in through the tax system, and the whole community benefits from things like that.
And if they are going to choose to experiment, to make sure they're in a safe spot, make sure they're using safe cannabis,
and
so
with
from
safe people.
From a dispensary, with safe people.
Okay, and then safety is what you're talking about, and we have a couple of boxes here on the table. So you say lock up your stash.
It is never a child's fault when they get into adult substances. That is the responsibility of us as the adults. So by locking up your supply, it just is one more barrier to keep it out of their hands and keep it up and out of the way, so that the conversation needs to happen, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen when they find yours.
Yeah, you got to be smart about it. Protect your kids in all ways that you possibly can. The Hi Ladies podcast, where can people find that and have a listen?
You can find us on all listening platforms. You can find us on Instagram at Hi Ladies Podcast. Google Hi Ladies Podcast, and you'll find us all over the place.
There you go. The conversations are definitely important to have with your kids, and overall for people that are kind of experimenting now in cannabis world, because it is new for a lot of people. So to be safe with it.
And because it's new, it is a difficult conversation.
Yes.
Legalization has only been around for just over 4 years, so these are new conversations that we're having with our children. We're the first generation of parents to have to figure out how to navigate these conversations. And if you start slow and continue just to build on that conversation, then it's not going to be a difficult conversation when it comes to the point where your children are really asking the hard questions.
There you go. It's great advice. Thank you both for joining us this morning.
Thank you,
Thank
Devo.
you.
Good to see you.